Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 57th Chicago International Film Festival. My name is Sam Flancher. I'm a programmer here, and we're thrilled to be welcoming Silent Land director Aga Woshinska to the program. Aga, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me for this conversation.
We had a great screening of the film last night, and people are really responding to it. So I want to just ask about the beginnings of the project. Can you start with like sort of genesis of the idea and how you sort of came to form these characters?
Well, there is to make this long story short. I made my film diploma, the diploma film called Fragments, because I graduated from Polish film school in Łódź, and it was about the same characters played by the same actors, Agnieszka Żuleska and Dobromir Demecki, and it lasts 25 minutes, and I still got the impression that it's not enough, that I need more screening time to tell the story about this emotional bankrupts, as I call my characters. And I needed also more time to understand them, especially Adam, because as Fragments was about more about Anna, Silent Land is to me more about Adam, and I wanted to have a time to maybe understand him and maybe forgive him. And it was the first aspect. But the second aspect was when I started to write the script after this horrible catastrophe on Lampedusa happened. Lampedusa is the island between Africa and Italy, and it was the period when a lot of migrants were desperately trying to get to Italy, but there was a big catastrophe and a lot of migrants died. And I thought it's like the very important issue that I would like to speak about. And these two factors actually I connected, and I started to write Silent Land with my co-writer Piotr Litvin.
Yeah, so you mentioned it was kind of this process of forgiving the character of Adam or coming to understand him more. Can you speak a little bit more about how you feel about the characters now after these two films?
This film is, of course, it's about the couple, and it starts like it's about the couple. But for me, from the very beginning, it was about Adam, because he is the only person who changes, actually. Anna is like, she's brave, she's acting to be brave, but actually when there is a real problem, she's hiding, and he is the person who can take his blame. And he's the person who understands what happened with him, and that he may be a better person because he could, follow his fears, and he could understand what he did, actually what he didn't do. He didn't help. And it's like in these dream sequences, he's dealing with his subconscious. He cannot understand what is doing with him, what is going with him. But at the end, he can understand that he actually killed this guy and that he took this blame. While Anna, she just wants to come back to Warsaw, to this established pattern of behavior.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, you made a 25-minute film, felt you had some unfinished business with these people. Do you feel the business is finished? Or is there any sort of impulse to revisit these characters even further, or are you good?
Yeah, because nobody called it like you did, that I had unfinished business with my characters. It's a good sentence. Yeah, I finished business with them. Thank you for this sentence.
They're done. You've tied it off. You don't need to talk about them anymore. So you mentioned this like sort of political reasons, that it's this film that's very personal but political at the same time, sort of connecting these two worlds. Can you speak about the politics of the film and kind of the way immigrants are treated? And was that like something that you were intentionally thinking about throughout?
Well, unfortunately, the film is really updated right now because of what's happening, on Polish border, when Afghanistan, only on Polish border, but, right now when Afghanistan is like desperately needs people from Afghanistan, desperately needs our help. We're closing our eyes and our borders. The same what my characters did. They also closed their eyes when Rahim needed their help. And I was writing this film like 5 years ago, and I couldn't even realize that it could be so updated right now. And yeah, it's this is my voice, because I think there is no point in making film just about the relationship when you spend 5 years of your life on writing and making the film. I need this kind of meta level to tell something more important than just relationship.
Yeah, and so there's a kind of regarding the politics in the film. There's this interesting like international. It's a film that seems like it doesn't belong to Poland or to Italy, where the location is. It maybe belongs more to the world. It feels like this global issue. Is that something that was like intentional, or were you really looking to speak about sort of
Yeah,
specifics?
of course. Well, it's obvious that my characters are Polish because I'm from Poland, and that's obvious. But I didn't want to consider them as Polish people who come to Italy who didn't help. The film is the metaphor of whole Europe when I was writing it, but right now I think it's the metaphor of about the whole world, not only Europe. I don't want to blame Italy. I just wrote it in Italy because when I started to write the script, as I told you before, this catastrophe on Lampedusa happened, and then Italy was the country who had to face the biggest wave of migrants. That's the one thing. The second thing is that I spent a lot of time there, and I'm in love in Italy, so I could combine, two things. But it's not that I'm blaming Italy. I'm blaming whole Europe and whole world actually right now.
Yeah. I want to ask about the visual style of the film. It's a very exacting style, I would say. There are a lot of still frames and distance shots, maybe not very many close-ups, a lot of stillness. Can you talk about working with the cinematographer and kind of developing the visual language of the film?
With a great pleasure. My cinematographer is Bartosz Świniarski. You can know him from film Apples, who was Greek candidate to Oscar.
Yeah, we showed apples at our festival last year or 2
Yeah,
years ago.
okay. So he's amazing, and I made with him my short diploma film fragments as well. So I didn't have only just the actors, but also the cinematographer. Which he's not only my cinematographer, but he's the best friend of mine. And because we worked together before, we actually knew what will happen in this film, and we were so prepared that sometimes on the set we didn't even having to talk with each other. Because he has such an amazing skill that he can see what's in my head. Sometimes I'm scared even. But and we know from the very beginning that we are speaking about the people who are not able to feel, about people who cannot communicate not only with each other but also with the whole world. And we knew that this film will be very distant, and we knew that we don't want to use any close-ups before the accident, and then we could just slowly go closer to characters when they start to understand what's going on with them. But for me, it's like not. I don't need to show a close up of a face to make the audience feel what the character is feeling. Actually, I think sometimes it's more important to show the person, in environment, and this environment is also shouting, and it's also telling a very important story. So we shot this film mostly on 35 millimeters, sometimes on 40 or 50, because it's the film about the distance, as I said before. And it also comes from my love for old European directors as Antonioni, and and it's also the same with the sound, because also this film does not have any music, and I want to deprive this film from handheld camera and strong music. I just want the interaction between the viewer and the screen. I didn't want to be in between of them. So I didn't want to tell them, now you have to laugh, now you have to cry, because there is whole hand camera and the strong music.
Right.
I want to, everything to be like a very pure image.
Great. Another sort of visual strength of the film, I think, is the amount of suggestion of off-screen space. The way things are sort of framed. Initially, when we see the accident, we see him fall, but we don't see him die. There's all the diving sequences, particularly. I feel like seeing just the surface of the water, knowing that these like important events for the characters are happening underneath the water. Can you talk about those decisions and the framing specifically?
Well, yeah, I think it's when you show them, when you don't show the most important things when they happen off screen, then you give the viewer the space to think about it and to recognize what they really cannot see. It's like, literally is the lack of imagination. So when you really want to show something, it's your own statement, and I didn't want to give my statement. As I said before, I just want to give the space between the screen and the viewer.
Yeah.
And that's why such a lot of things happens beyond the frame.
Yeah. Great. We have a question from the audience about the location. The audience question is, what was it like shooting in such beautiful locations? Did it feel like a vacation too?
Yes, it did like a vacation, not only because of the location. And we shot this film in Sardinia, Italian island. And it was also a kind of vacation, not only because we had one main location, but also because I managed to establish a really film family. So we were together for this month and a half. Because there was a pandemic and there was COVID, we were living in one hotel. We couldn't go and spread each other to this restaurant, that restaurant, and we were all together, and it was amazing time because people started to treat this film as their own. I mean, the crew, not just as the work. So we spent, this beautiful time in this beautiful location with wonderful people who really cared about the film.
Yeah. I want to ask also about the house specifically. It's such an incredible place. How can you talk about finding that location and sort of utilizing it? It's just this magnificent.
Well, I had location scouts. Actually, it was 2018 when me and my producer Gawasiak, we went because Sardinia Film Commission gave us a location scout, and we were driving through Sardinia, and we were searching for the places, and we just found this house. And I said, "Wow, this is the ideal one. I don't want to search for any more."
Yeah. Was the pool broken already, or did you have to?
No, of course.
Right. So I have a question. There's a scene in the film that I think is sort of stands out for me, or stood out while I was watching it. The scene where they're dancing. So much of the film is this like, still sort of this tension bubbling underneath, this tension between the two, and they have that like moment of release when they're kind of going crazy and dancing. Can you talk about like placing that scene within the film?
Yeah, it's the moment of release, but I just wanted to show that these people are so uncertain about what's going inside of them, that they go into the trauma and they jump out from the trauma and they go into the trauma. It's like for the first time in their life, they actually start to have feelings, like strong feelings. So it's not like it's the moment of release, but it's also kind of the moment that you don't know what's going actually with you.
Right. Just uncertainty and sort of confusion there.
Yeah, and I wrote the scene only for Adam, that Adam is dancing actually, and then Anna is watching him. But Agnieszka Żelazka, the actress, she proposed me, okay, maybe I will join him, and so yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, so that works really well then.
Yeah, you have to listen to your actors if you have wise.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings something up for me. With a film like this, it's so like the film is so taut and tight and feels like so finely structured. Was there? You mentioned this suggestion from the actors and this collaboration that you've had across films. Is there allowance for improvisation on your sets, or are you more no, not looking for improv? It's Chicago. This is the city of improv comedy. Yeah. So
Of course, I'm listening to my actors' advices, like how can we improve this scene, but it's not like that. This is like we're sitting on the table and I just give you the topic and speak about you want to speak about. No, it's really like choreography, especially in this kind of filming when there are wide shots and only in one take. The choreography is the most important, and it can happen only because before I spend a lot of time with my main actors on the table with the script and speaking about the characters. So when they enter the set or even the rehearsal, they already knew who they are.
Yeah.
And that's why it was possible.
Yeah, sort of born from all this continuity. I want to ask about the police department and sort of like you detail these like this corruption, this kind of bureaucratic corruption, and that it seems as though they're more interested in just kind of saving the island's reputation or the place's reputation rather than like finding justice or understanding what went on. Was there any kind of research that went into like how these departments operate and what might have happened? And can you talk about like encountering that?
Well, I'm really curious about Italian audience. When finally I will have my film, on some Italian festival, we will see what will happen. Yes, we've been to some Italian police stations in a very small carabinieri stations in a very small villages. But actually, like, I just want to mention that nobody in my film is either good or bad. It's like we cannot say that the policemen are bad because I like them, and for me they are not bad. They are just clumsy. They don't know what to do, but I wouldn't like to consider them as bad guys. It's like it's a kind of a communism. They are funny. I hope so that audience was laughing at this scenes. But I don't want to just call that they are bad guys who are just focused on themselves. There's like they are gray. Either white or black or black.
Right. I appreciate you bringing up sort of an element of comedy because there are some really comedic moments I think in the film, or just sometimes even just the Adam's face is just plight. You just like look at this guy, it's very it can be kind of humorous just with the intensity of everything. So I'm glad you brought that up. So I want to end by asking a question just about the sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. But so you've made this short film and then you've made this feature film. Can I ask you what you're working on next? Or is it all sort of secret tamp down?
No, it's not a secret. I want to make a trilogy actually on the island. So my next film with the same great producer Aga Vashak will be on some kind of Scandinavian island, and it will be this time about two women trapped on the island due to ecological catastrophe. And my third film, also on the island in the different corner of the world, will be most about men. So that's what I can say.
So I'm curious then, what about sort of island filmmaking attracts you? Is the image of the island just this thing you need to return to?
Yeah, it's kind of a place that on the one hand you can feel free because it's not your land, but on the other hand you can feel trapped because you don't have possibility to escape, like in my second film. Yeah, I feel some energy with islands, I think.
Great. Yeah. Well, we can't wait to see what next island destination that you're going to. I want to thank you, Aga, for being here and for sharing Silent Land with us and our audiences, and wishing you all the best with the film and with your future projects. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.